Now we read in the scriptures, in the Gospels, that the wise men, as we call them, or that the Magi's, were following the stars to find where the Messiah was going to be born, the Christ. Now, people say the three wise men, but the Bible didn't say there were three of them. People assume it was three of them because they brought gold, was it gold, frankincense, and myrrh, and that's three gifts. They assume it's one each, so it's three. But the Bible says three of them. In fact, there's a whole entourage of people, because they were prominent, important people that came, and they would have a lot of security, people that would protect them on the road and the highways and all the rest. There's a lot of people that came. Now, when they came, having followed the star to find out where the Messiah was going to be born, it came over Jerusalem and it came over Bethlehem. Now, Jerusalem was unsettled. They were very nervous. Even though Israel was looking for the Messiah to come for years, for generations, or centuries, looking for the Messiah to come. But when it was like about to happen, they got very nervous. And the reason they got really nervous was because of Herod. They knew Herod was a brutal man, what he would do. And so, they would think he's going to kill people, he's going to, because Herod was a brutal, horrible man. Right? He was prone to, he killed so many people that the emperor himself, Augustus Caesar, said it was safer to be a pig with Herod than to be a member of his family. In other words, if you're a member of his family, your life is in more danger than his pig that they can kill and eat. He would kill anybody. Right? And in fact, we look at history. Majority of people that he actually killed were actually innocent. 3 of his own sons he killed. Any members of his closest family, doesn't matter who it is, he'll kill you. And the reason was, he was paranoid that people were going to be plotting against him. That because he was king, they want the throne, and they might poison him or do something, or arrange for his assassination or whatever. So if he suspects his own family, kill them. And this is what he did. And now, in Jerusalem, there's these people that come, this entourage of people, right? Important dignitaries from another nation, coming to his territory, looking, asking, where is he that is born King of the Jews? They weren't asking if he was born. They were asking, where was he born? They knew he was born. They were following the stars, and they when the star stood over the area, they stood. So they know somewhere in town here, the Messiah, the Christ, is going to be born. We're not sure where. We're not sure which particular town. And they were asking around. So they didn't go to Herod the king and ask him. They went to the people, asking them on the streets. But word got to Herod, and he said, call them. So they came to Herod, and they had this meeting. Herod was asking them, why have you come? Who are you looking for? And all the rest. And they told them. And so Herod, being a politician, a conniving man, deceitful, he said, okay, that's good. Go and find them. When you found them, I want you to come and call me. Tell me where. Because I want to come and worship him too. In my Jamaican language, lie matel. He wasn't being honest. He wanted to kill Jesus because he wanted to remove the threat to him. Because all Israel expected the Messiah to come, and when the Messiah came, the Messiah would militarily overthrow the Roman occupation of Israel. They would throw out the Roman armies and establish independence again for the nation of Israel. The people be free. No more paying taxes to Caesar and have Rome controlling things in their own country. No, they'd be free like they were in the days of David and Solomon and so on. Right? Independent nation, ruling themselves. They expected the Messiah to come to do this. So that was a talk, that was expectation. So when the Christ is now born somewhere around that's going to do this, Herod is not going to stand for that. if that did happen, what would happen to Herod and his power base of him being king? He'd be thrown out because this rival king, as he saw it, would take over the throne, push him out. As far as he knows, he might be killed, his family might be killed, or at least they go in exile. He would lose his power base, his position, his authority. He'd lose his place. He cannot have this rival king being born that's going to come and overthrow him. And not just him, but Rome. No. Kill this child in his infant stage. So he lied to the wise men, as we call it, the Messiah, the Magi's. And he says, when you go and find him, come and call me, because I want to worship him too. But the wise men, when they went to Bethlehem, found Christ and gave him the gifts and all the rest, they didn't go back and tell Herod, because they were already warned by God in a dream not to go, because Herod thought the child's life was going to kill him. And so they were warned to go back to their country a different way. Now, when Herod found out that that's what actually happened, that the wise men didn't come back, they went off, how would he find where the baby was? It was already decided it was going to be in Bethlehem, because the question was asked, where is he? He called his religious men, where is the child going to be born? And the religious leaders in Israel, they look at they knew from the scripture anyway. But they said the child's going to be born according to prophecy in Bethlehem. So Herod knew the child was going to be in Bethlehem. So he sent all his soldiers to go down to the town of Bethlehem. We don't know which house. We don't know where the baby is. We don't know who the mother and father is. And nobody's going to tell us probably if we ask, where is the child? So to make sure we get Jesus, we didn't know his name then, but to make sure we get this king, this baby that's born, make sure you kill all the children under the age of 2, all the babies, all the little infants under the age of 2. Because if you do that, amongst them must be the Messiah. I told you this guy was bloodthirsty, brutal. Imagine all these women, these families affected. Innocent families who had nothing to do with anything, just had their baby, and suddenly these armed troops burst into the house, as it were, kick in the door, get inside, find the baby, kill the baby, move on to the next house to find and kill others too. That's why the scripture said, Rachel weeping, meaning the woman of Israel, weeping for her children and would not be comforted because of this great atrocity that was done, just to kill the Messiah before he could start his ministry, before he can grow up, and before he could lead Israel in the fight against Rome to overthrow them. So that's what happened. So they were taken off. I mean, they weren't taken off. Joseph, being warned of a dream what was going to happen, he took the child and the mother, Mary, and they went out of Israel. Because if you go to another town or city in Israel, with all the soldiers that Herod has at his disposal, word will get around, spies and all the rest, they might find the location, and their life is in danger. So they literally left the country. They went to another country. They went to Africa. They went to Egypt. And the child stayed there, and they grew up there for a while before, whilst Herod was around. And when he died, then instruction came back to Joseph, it's okay now. They who sought the child's life has died. It's safe for you to go back to Israel now. And that's when they came out of Egypt, fulfilling that scripture, out of Egypt have I called my son. And so Christ came back with Mary and Joseph back into Israel. They didn't go down south this time to Judea, to Jerusalem, or to Bethany, to Bethlehem. They stayed up north of Israel. So they went to Nazareth, and the child grew up there. That's why we call him Jesus of Nazareth, and not Jesus of Bethlehem, because he grew up in Nazareth. So that's the story of Herod and the wise men. They were searching the scriptures for a long, long time. And they were looking at the stars for a long, long time for when the star would appear. And when the star did appear, that's when they knew that they would leave where they were, pack their bags, get on their camels or whatever means of transportation they had, And they would follow the star because eventually it would lead them to the birth of the Messiah. And that's exactly what happened. And that's the story we have in the scriptures. And so, despite the devil wanting to assassinate and kill Jesus before he can really start his ministry, before he could heal anybody, before he could raise the dead, before he could preach and teach and say all these parables and fulfill his ministry and eventually die, which is the reason why he would come into the world, die for the sins of the people. Before he could die for us, to save us and deliver us, kill him at his birth, so he can't do any of that. No ministry, because he killed him as a child. But the Lord would not allow that to happen. As much as the devil plotted and schemed to kill Jesus, it wouldn't happen. And even when he was older and he started his ministry, they tried to kill him a few times. They took him to the top of a mountain to throw him off, to kill him. And he went up there with them, and they ready to do it now, throw him off the hill. And he just turned and walked down the hill back, left them there. Nobody touched him. They would want to do it many times. And the Pharisees and scribes and all that, they plotted many times to kill him. But when the time came, in the fullness of time, when the time came that he would die, according to the scripture, he went to the cross willingly. And though some people say that he didn't know he was going to be crucified, he didn't know he was going to die and all the rest, that's complete nonsense. He knew. He told the disciples many, many times about how he was going to die, that he was going to be crucified, he was going to be betrayed by one of them. He said it many, many times over in the scriptures, in different towns and cities he told them. And so we knew that it wasn't by accident that they arrested him and crucified him. For this cause I came into the world, he said. Right? He came in his mission. Lo, I come in the volume of the book. It is written of me, O my God. He came to do the will of his Father. And the will of his Father was to die for the sin of mankind. That's the purpose he came for, and that's what he delivered for us. That's why we have salvation in him now, just by believing in his name, who has saved us and given us this lively hope. And Christ is now living inside of us. And so we can show the others, we can show the world that this Jesus we're talking about is very, very real. And if we live right, people see Jesus in us, in our attitudes, our behavior, our lifestyles, our walk, in our conversation. They'll see Jesus. They see the God we talk about. They'll see that in our personality, our character, our ways, our behavior. And this is how we ought to be. Because they can't see Christ, but they must see him in us. You and me. I hope and pray that you enjoy this little lesson about an historical thing that happened that people don't think about. But yes, the devil wanted to kill Jesus? Definitely. Did he try to kill him? Definitely. Could he succeed? No way, no chance. The same way that he couldn't kill Jesus. Because even in the end when he died, Jesus said, nobody took my life from me. I gave my life up for myself. I gave my life up myself. He did. Nobody killed him. He gave up his life for us willingly. It is the same way that nobody can kill the church. The enemy, the devil, cannot kill the church and destroy the church. Same reason. Christ is the head of it. And so, as he couldn't kill Christ, he cannot kill the church, cannot destroy the church. It will kill individual Christians, and many of them, millions around the world, are being persecuted, even this generation. Persecuted, killed, and all the rest. And, we know those horrible statistics. But the gates of hell can never prevail against the church. The church will always stand. Because God is the head. The church will stand. And so, if we are to stand of ourselves, it doesn't matter if the devil comes and wants to destroy our lives. Cannot do so unless God allows it. So we don't have to fear the man who can kill the body and chop off our heads. We fear the one that can put our bodies and soul in hell. We fear God. And as we do so and live this way, we won't walk in fear, afraid to go out in the street, suffering from nervous depression because, somebody can do something to me. No, we are like the 3 Hebrew boys. We see the fire, we see the death sentence, we see that nobody possibly is going to be coming around to save us. No hero is going to ride over the hills in his horse and come to the rescue and save you. But they said no. Even if it means we're going to die. We see the fire. We see all your soldiers around. But be it known unto you, King, we will not bow. Our God, who we serve, will deliver us. And even if he doesn't, we're still not going to bow. That's how we live as Christians. We don't want to die and be martyred and killed and all the rest. We want to live with our families, our wives, our children, our grandchildren, live happily. That's what we want. But we'll never back down and deny Christ because somebody wants us to. Because they have a sword in their hand, an axe in their hand, and they're terrorizing us, threatening us, what they will do. No. We'll make our stand for Christ. So whether we live unto the Lord. If we die unto the Lord. Either way, we belong to the Lord. And that is the truth. We belong to the Lord.